Yo, what's up guys? My name is Artorigold and we're gonna do a tier list for the solo ranked experience for those of you who are bronze trying to reach diamond, or maybe anywhere in between. So these are going to be a lot of independent heroes that are very strong in this patch, but I'm also taking counter picks and just kind of the skill ceiling into consideration as well. If you like this type of content, let me know in the comments. We can do some more. I am planning on doing another tier list video for those of you who are trying to be diamond and reach GM, because I do think the game is very different at those two ranks. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into it. So first off, let's start with the bottom. We have the throw picks. These are heroes you should just never pick. That would be Roadhog and yeah, Lifeweaver. Both of these heroes are just terrible right now. I mean, there's no reason to pick them. Lifeweaver is probably going to get buffed soon, and Roadhog does have a whole rework coming his way, but until then, just no, don't do it. Next up, we have the F tier, and I basically put this here just to put some emphasis on how bad these two heroes are. There's nobody in F tier. In the D tier, we have Doomfist as our only tank. This is a character that I think is very good, and most people think that they're good on him, but they're not. Most people who are good at Doomfist have been one-tricking him since the beginning, and they're probably already really high ranked by now. If you're trying to get good with Doomfist right now, it's not the best meta to do so. Orisa and Sombra, very good picks. All you have to do is right-click as Doomfist, put your little hands up, try to guard an attack, and then you're just gonna get hacked, or Orisa will throw a spear at you and cancel it. So yeah, I don't think Doomfist is quite very good right now. It is especially not a very good time to play him or learn him. Next up, we have Zenyatta and Baptiste, who I can't find. There he is. So I think both of these support heroes are very good at higher ranks, but solo climbing is just a completely different experience with these characters, especially at lower ranks. Basically, nobody knows what peeling is. Nobody's going to help you. You're just left alone, and you can't really do anything for yourself. As Zenyatta, you're going to feel this the worst. Baptiste, you can maybe throw down a lamp and survive a couple of times, but you generally want to use your lamp for your team and not just for yourself. At that point, you might as well just play a support hero that's just able to do kind of both, keep yourself alive and support your team, such as like Kiriko or Lucio, who can just self-peel for themselves and teleport away, right? These heroes have a very high skill ceiling. While they're very good, I just think that your team is not going to help keep you alive, and for that reason, I don't think you should try playing them at lower ranks. Next on, we have the C tier, which is fine. These are heroes that are just kind of mid right now. They could be better, could be worse. First up for the tanks, Wrecking Ball. This character is extremely good, but the problem is, well, Sombra's pretty good. So as you can see, just actually in one of my most recent videos, Sombra hacks you and you're just not able to do anything. So while Ball can stay alive and has a lot of potential to do things for the team, it's pretty easy to just swap Sombra and then make the Ball pretty irrelevant, especially at the lower ranks. So yeah, I don't quite suggest him. I mean, maybe you can start the game off with him, but as soon as they swap to Sombra, Ball really isn't a good option anymore. And then lastly, in the C tier, we have 3 DPS heroes. We have Bastion, we have Hanzo, and we have Symmetra. All 3 of these heroes can be good in the right hands, but they're a little too cheesy. They're not quite as consistent. Bastion really relies on his turret form, his ult is kind of underwhelming. Hanzo relies on headshots, and his ult is also underwhelming. And Symmetra relies on the enemy team having a lot of barriers in order to just kind of fry them up, or being on a good map such as King of the Hill. In general, Symmetra has more negatives than positives. So while Symmetra can be really good and Hanzo can be really good, they really just depend on how you're doing with your aim and what map is it. So yeah, I just put them in C tier. Next up, we have a ton here in the B tier. Let's start off with the tanks. We have Junker Queen, we have Sigma, and we have Zarya. These are all pretty solid tanks. The only problem with them really depends on the map. For example, Sigma, very good hero on certain sniper maps, just really excels on those. Zarya, very good on maps like King's Row. Junker Queen is really good, especially on push maps, but really requires your team to follow up with your shout and to move forward aggressively, and there just might not be enough coordination at the lower ranks in order to really take advantage of your shout pushes. In other words, what you would call the death ball strategy. These three heroes, though, are very, very good. It just requires the right coordination and teamwork, as well as the right map to do even better. But in general, the other tanks are probably going to be better more all around than these three. Next up, we have the support heroes for the B section, which is just Lucio. Lucio is in a pretty good spot right now. I mean, everybody in the B tier is in a good spot. And the same thing with heroes like Sigma and Junker Queen. They're just very good on certain maps. Lucio, very good on push, King of the Hill, things like that. And it really depends on a death ball strategy. If you have a Reinhardt, Junker Queen, a Reaper or something, then Lucio becomes way better. Being able to enable and speed boost heroes that need it the most is what makes Lucio so good. But on other maps and sniper maps where people aren't going to group up around you, not that great. Either way, not bad, put him in B. Then lastly, we have the DPS heroes in the B tier section. We have Pharah, we have Cassidy, we have Widowmaker, and we have Torbjorn. These heroes are all pretty good. The problem with some of these, I would say mostly Torbjorn, is while he is pretty good at maybe having that crossfire and he has a little bit more ammo when he uses that E, the turret got nerfed, which means he's not as good against flanking heroes like Tracer and Genji, and those heroes are just kind of all over right now. Pharah is pretty good, but honestly, compared to the other flying heroes out there, I think she's not as good as them, and there is a reason why, which we will get into it, but I think Pharah is not bad. You do require to have a Mercy with you. Other than that, that's kind of the big thing, right? Like Pharah compared to the other flyers such as Echo, the biggest difference here is one really requires a Mercy and one doesn't. So yeah, Pharah, B tier. Widowmaker, I mean, she just got nerfed. Her one-shots aren't quite as powerful depending on the range. Not a bad hero if you're hitting the headshots though, and if it's the right map, then she's excellent. Cassidy, while I do think Cassidy is extremely good, I think he's kind of in this weird spot where he doesn't do more damage compared to other hitscan heroes, and he does have that anti-movement kind of CC grenade ability, which is very good right now, but at the same time, you might as well just play Sombra instead. So basically, Cassidy feels like kind of in the middle of damage and CC. And for that reason, I think he's on B tier because I'd rather have a hero that either does more damage or just has more CC. So maybe you can see what I'm saying here. He's kind of a jack of all trades. He's not really a master of either of those things. And that's it for the B section. So let's go ahead and talk about A. These heroes are very good. They do require specific maps or maybe some certain strategies, like you need good synergy with certain characters to really enable them, but in general, these characters are never really a bad pick. First up for the tanks, we have Reinhardt. Excellent hero, always a good pick. You really can't go wrong with Reinhardt. He's just been around since the beginning, he does a lot of damage, his ultimate's one of the best in the game. The big issue, of course, is if the enemy team has a lot of poke damage or you're just getting out-sniped, there's not really anything Reinhardt can do about that. So yeah, he's really good on those smaller maps, but once you get to those bigger maps like Junkertown, he kind of has some problems and you'll see what I'm talking about. But other than that, excellent hero. Now let's talk about the support heroes in the A tier. We have Brig and we have Kiriko. Brig is dominating the Overwatch League, and for a good reason. She's very good at peeling and keeping your other support alive. She's very anti-dive. She does a lot of annoying things with her ultimate. And then also you have Kiriko, whose Suzu ability is just amazing. It's like the best ability in the game. Her ultimate is extremely good. You can combine it with things like Soldier Visor, Genji Blade, just let a Reinhardt swing faster, it doesn't matter. Your healing's great, movement's great, you can do a ton of damage with headshots. I mean, these characters are always good on most maps, so yeah, you can't go wrong with them. Then we have a few DPS heroes to talk about. We have Echo, we have Mei, we have Junkrat, we have Sojourn, and then we have Reaper. So Echo is basically the best flying character right now. I think that she has a lot of potential. It's a very high skill ceiling, but unlike Pharah, as I was saying earlier, you don't really need the Mercy. The Mercy does help, but you don't need it. Mei got some crazy buffs right now. I think Mei is really good combining with other heroes and other synergies. As long as you're able to get those huge wall picks on people, you're gonna do great. And of course, the ice block, pretty amazing when you're solo queuing. You can always just kind of rely on yourself to heal. Then of course you have Junkrat. You just get a ton of value spamming at choke points on certain maps. Your trap is really good, your tire kills people straight up, and of course you can just kind of assassinate people by left clicking and then immediately shift mining into someone. So yeah, Junkrat's pretty great. Next up we have Sojourn. Very good. They buffed her and I've been playing her a lot. She has way more right clicks. Her left click is just so much more accurate. You're gaining charge so much quicker. Your ultimate's very good. It combines well with other things like Nano, and Kiriko Road also is really good with her. I mean, yeah, she's great. She's phenomenal. The burst damage that you can do with her is fantastic. If you can land headshots, it's excellent. If you damage burst her with Mercy, it's even better. And yeah, you really can't go wrong with Sojourn. Those buffs really made her an insane hero. Then of course you have Reaper, who is really just a counterpick hero right now because as you'll see, dive tanks like Winston are very powerful right now. And basically Reaper is just always a good option into Winston. And that's why I like him. You can always do some pretty good frontline damage. Just pressuring the enemy tank has a lot more value at lower ranks because the tank has way more value than other roles. So yeah, just bullying the tank in general is going to be great for Reaper. If you try to flank and get some kills, you can maybe get some success. And of course you have lifesteal and shift, so you can keep yourself alive. That's also another great thing about these two heroes here. Your Junkrat can mine yourself to safety, Sojourn has slide, so those little abilities go pretty far when you're solo climbing and you don't have anybody to rely on. Next up, we have the A+ tier. These are heroes that are very, very good. When they do well, they do well. So let's go into them. We have D.Va as our tank. This is a very good dive hero. I think it's excellent. I do think that you run into a lot of problems with D.Va. I think your ultimate doesn't always get as much value as other tank ultimates. It's pretty hit or miss. I do think you have a lot of potential right now because hit scan heroes are very good, namely Soldier and Ashe, which we are going to talk about soon. But in general, D.Va just provides a pretty good alternative to Winston. If you have a lot of hit scan heroes on the enemy team, then D.Va is probably a really good pick. The biggest thing you have to worry about with her is the Echo Laser, which goes right through your defense matrix and it will kill you. And of course, Sombra Hack, as always. Next up, we have the support heroes in A+ tier, namely Moira. This is basically a DPS hero that you pick on support. You do a ton of damage. You namely just want to be able to kill and finish off those enemies that might have 1 HP, and you just have your Fade ability to keep yourself alive, as well as that lifesteal from your right click. I mean, Moira just doesn't die. If you're dying a lot on support, this is the hero. I mean, you don't want to die on support ever, and if it does happen, this is like the best swap you can make, especially at lower ranks. Now, the higher rank you go, you'll find Moira has way less potential, way less utility, well, zero utility really. But in general, from bronze to diamond, Moira is a very good pick. Then we have DPS heroes. We have Ashe, we have Tracer, and we have Genji. Now, all three of these heroes do a lot. They do require a lot of little bit of mechanics. You have to understand how they work. You have to have really good ultimate usage. But in general, Ashe is going to be one of the best hit scan characters. The dynamite is super good. Damage boost with Ashe, amazing. And unlike Cassidy, your ultimate's really good. You can just use it to contest the point. And then you have Genji Blade, which is like one of the best ultimates in the game. Nano Blade is so good. And then you have Tracer, who even though she just got nerfed, she's still very annoying. Basically, dive is just really strong on most maps. If you have a Winston or a D.Va, then these two heroes become infinitely better. So yeah, these heroes are still really good, and to be honest, they're probably gonna nerf one of them. And Ashe, yeah, very good. You do need a Mercy damage boost to really take Ashe a little bit further and go and climb even further past Diamond, but in general, she's still a great hero and she just pumps out so much damage that she really does set herself apart from these other heroes. And lastly, as you can see here, these are going to be all the S tier heroes. We have Ramatra, Winston, and Orisa for the S tier picks. Winston is probably the most picked character in the Overwatch League right now for a good reason. Dive is really good, and he's like the best dive hero, and he can be kind of independent, right? Because you can just use your ultimate, you get it pretty quickly. Your damage goes through D.Va defense matrix, it goes through shields. I mean, you know, he's great. Can't go wrong with Winston. As for Orisa, she just became a lot harder to kill, and I think that makes her just way better. And Ramattra, I mean, his ultimate just wins you the game by itself at lower ranks, and for that reason, I think Ramattra is just such a good pick. Being able to combine it with a nano too, I mean, basically the point or objective, whatever it is, you're gonna win it every time if you have a nano annihilation. So yeah, these are definitely the best picks for tank right now. And then we have the support heroes, Mercy and Ana. I don't think I really need to say much. Ana's anti-nade and sleep dart are just really strong. Her healing's great. You can even get a little bit of kills occasionally with her damage. You can right click in and do just a bit of poke damage here to anybody you see. And then Mercy, I mean, Res is just a really good ability. Resurrection is going to have a lot of power at lower ranks, especially if you can resurrect your tank. And then lastly, we have probably the best DPS heroes right now for lower ranks, Sombra and Soldier. Basically what I was trying to get into a little bit with Cassidy here, Soldier does a ton more damage, as well as being independent, surviving pretty long. Now that you have more heals, you can get around quickly to wherever you need to. Sombra, same thing, but Sombra offers you a lot of utility. The hack comes in very clutch. The EMP, probably one of the best ultimates in the game. Visor's pretty good, but you still require some pretty good positioning for it. But all around, if you're trying to do a ton of damage, pick Soldier. If you're trying to be annoying and really just provide a lot of utility for your team, pick Sombra. So anyways, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think. If you thought maybe I was right or wrong about something, let me know. And I'll try to do a tier list in the future for the higher ranks. So I hope you guys check that one out as well. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and peace.